Hello and welcome. Today I will be your keynote speaker on this panel dedicated to the framework to travel recovery. We have talked about different strategies and different initiatives around the world during this event on how we can reignite tourism. On today's keynote, we will be taking a moment to reflect on how travelers have changed along the way and how we can best reconnect with them following this simple 4-step travel recovery methodology. A little bit about me before we get started. I'm originally from Italy and I've been living for the past 20 years around the world. So I define myself as a citizen of the world. I've been living in Asia, Central Asia, and most recently, the Indian Ocean in Africa. I have a marketing and communication background in hospitality and travel. And for the past 15 years, I would say, I've been the person in charge, restructuring that message that connects the travel audience of the hotels I was working for. So I know the struggle, and I know why now it's not that easy to reconnect with their audience and restore that travel confidence we all need to get back to business. So let's start with today's travel recovery framework keynote speech. During the event, we've been talking about different strategies and different approaches to travel recovery. But let's start with identifying our new clients. Let's start on talking about how travelers have changed over the past 18 months and what has exactly changed. I would say the 3 P of change are what we should keep in consideration when we refresh our strategies. So let's look at them. First of all, priorities. Secondly, perception of luxury. And thirdly, planning. These are the 3 P of change that we should focus on when we look at how travelers have changed today. Let's look at them one by one. Priorities have been completely turned upside down over the past 18 months. And our dear travelers have certainly taken the time to restructure them, reshuffle them, and reprioritize what is important to them, starting from their health, their relationships, their finances, and their safety. So when we talk to our travelers, when we talk to the audience that is on the other side of the screen, health, relationships, finances, and safety are the priorities that have completely changed for today's travelers. And when we look at the way we want to re-identify their needs in order for us to connect with them with our brand message, these are key elements to keep into consideration into our marketing and communication strategy. Did you know that in 2020, the most searched word on Google was why? Why is this happening? Why I can't go out? Why am I not allowed to travel? Why is this virus killing so many people? Why is my life so useless? Why is my family so far away? So many different questions have been formulated with one common word according to Google search trends in 2020, and that is why. So if travelers are asking themselves why shouldn't we? The truth is that over the past 12 months, up to 2 years, we have seen our audience sitting at home, working from home, or spending time at home. But not just that. Their perception of what is important to them, of what lifts them up, has changed. So the perception of luxury, the second P, the perception that I want to discuss with you in today's keynote, is exactly what I would like to share. And I would like to highlight how the perception of luxury has changed in today's travelers. If before luxury was reputed as something related to what we own, what we can do, what we can experience, where we can go. So for example, living by the sea, jet setting around the world in private jets, having tropical holidays by the beach in luxurious and idyllic destinations. Luxury shopping, buying what we like, buying all the fancy goods, clothes, things that we can ever buy. Or staying at prestigious and fancy hotels around the world, or buying expensive cars. If this was what luxury was perceived to be in the past, let's look at what now the perception of luxury, the new perception of luxury is about. Time, space, human connection, spirituality, and purpose. Think about how the new perception of luxury is affecting today's travelers and how you can address that new perception, that new need, in order for them to fulfill that need and to fulfill that expectation. So let's think of the new luxuries of today's traveler. Time to be spent with the family, to the ones that they love, to the ones that they care about, to the ones that they haven't seen in a long time, but also times for themselves, time to reconnect, time to realign their priorities and their needs. But let's not forget about space. That's a very important point when it comes to today's travel. The fear of crowd, the fear of the unknown has affected the way planning ahead, especially when it comes to travel and hospitality, makes us feel comfortable and safe when it comes to space. So space is the new luxury. Not just that, but the way we connect with each other, this hunger for human connection. When we travel, when we spend time at home, when we go back to work and meet our colleagues again. Living in a digitalized era where any working relationship is done through a Zoom call, for example, behind a screen, made us thirsty for human connection. And this is one of the new perception of luxury. This is how luxury is perceived. Not just that, but let's not forget that we have had time to reflect on what is going on our planet and where are we going as human beings. So spirituality has been an important part of rediscovering our new perception of what is luxury to us, what is important, what feels luxurious. Spirituality is a key element, but not just that. Our purpose in society, on this planet, in our community, with the ones we love, the difference we can make, has deeply impacted the way travelers are approaching their travel plan. So let's look at that plan, the third P. I had a look at the recent trends and reports from McKinsey, Expedia, and those researchers that keep telling us, keep sharing with us data that matter to us tourism operators. Well, planning has fundamentally changed, and the window for travel decisions is becoming shorter and shorter and shorter. What does that mean? It means that travelers today are taking time to decide where they want to be, how they want to get there, and what they want to do. And that time is becoming shorter and shorter. In fact, it's a window between 0 and 21 days. So travelers are making quick decisions, they're acting upon those needs and those impulses that guide them and share with them and tell them what matters to them today. A reflection of the past 18 months, definitely, but also an indication of what will be the future trends ahead in terms of planning of travel. When we look at the safety records, for example, and the international travel restrictions, we see that most of the travels have been happening domestically rather than internationally. Domestic travel versus international travel, it's not just a trend of the moment. In fact, many of the travelers interviewed by research operators have admitted that they have actually enjoyed visiting their own country, as opposed to traveling on a long haul to a long haul destination. What does this tell us? It's not only about safety, but here safety and purpose align. And that's when we understand that travelers today are keeping a close eye on the impact of travel and the impact of their travel choices on the planet. Which takes us to the third point that is impacting the planning in terms of travel changes, and that is having the options of travel sustainably. So as a tourism and travel operator, we should always ask ourselves, how does my travel, hospitality and tourism business gives back to the community, to the planet, to the local economy where the business is operated? And the reason why you as operators should be asking yourself this question is simply because travelers are going to be asking you the same question. So better be prepared. Well, if the change that has been identified in our first part of the framework to travel recovery, when we look at how travelers have changed, it's all about the 3P. It's about priorities, perception, and planning. So after we have re-identified, so to speak, our ideal customer, let's say our travelers, our desired travelers of today, those who we want to receive in our destinations, in our hotels, those who we want to take on a tour or on excursions if we are operating hospitality businesses. We identify what matters to them, what has changed for them, and therefore we structure our message accordingly. One of the things that has always affected the travel industry that I've seen over the years in my experience is what I call the curse of knowledge. Just imagine, for example, and here I'm going to take a little trip away from today's keynote and bring you an example that I recently read as one of the researches that was conducted in the recent years in the US. It's called The Tappers and the Listeners. Let's say you belong to a group of listeners that is given a list of 50 songs to listen to from the tappers. The tappers are those that are supposed to tap their melody so that you as a listener can understand it and can guess it. Well, the research studies showcased that the majority of the listeners did not guess the melody that the tappers were tapping for them. And the tappers were asked, what do you think is the percentage of people that has guessed the melody that you were tapping? Well, guess what? They thought everybody was understanding it. While the truth is that only 20% of the listeners actually came back with the right answers and guessing the melody. What does this tell us? To me, this is a clear example of how we as tourism operator, we often put out our message, and I want you to take a moment to reflect on it. The curse of knowledge is when you know something that you cannot unknow, and therefore don't feel and don't perceive, you don't use that empathy to connect with travelers who don't know what you're talking about, who don't know your brand message or your product. So always put yourself in the shoes of those who don't know your message. In other words, try always to listen first. Are you listening? Are you listening to your audience? Are you listening to your existing customers? And most importantly, are you listening to what people are sharing out there around the world? We are constantly bombarded with different type of informations from all over the world and all over the industries. As travelers ourselves, we have so many choices. And in these choices, we navigate the likes of different type of social media, different type of platforms, different type of content that gets served to us. Video content, reading content, visual content. Everything there to convince us to do something, to buy something, to go somewhere. So think about the way your audience is responding to that content, and what is your audience responding to your content? How are they connecting with you? On which platform are they mostly sharing their voices? Therefore, try and identify what platforms you should be focusing on when you're targeting your desired audience. When I speak of travelers, audience, ideal customers, for me, we are only speaking of one thing and one thing only, and that is people. Let's never forget that this is the industry of people, and therefore, as people, we should always put ourselves in the shoes of those who we're talking to. When we structure a message that resonates with our audience, we want that message to be simple, to go exactly to the core of it. We want that message to be unexpected so that it can get that attention that we all are racing for, that we all are competing for. Let's not forget, in the endless options that our audience has online of platform to understand where to go, what to do, how to book, what's next for them, it's all about creating a simple message that gets their attention and, most importantly, keeps it. Therefore, your message should not just be unexpected, but should also have an element of concreteness. It has to be concrete. When a message is too abstract, it doesn't resonate with our audience. It doesn't let them relate to it. And it's important that when we put out our brand message and we structure that brand message, we want that message not to be too abstract so that our audience can relate to it and can therefore take action on it. Today's world is a world of many truths. And our audience out there is very, very well versed into understanding where does that truth come from, how to verify the information you're providing to them. So your message will have to be not just concrete, but also credible. Align yourself and your brand message to official sources so that your audience can easily cross-check the information you're sharing with them and makes you the go-to person when it comes to their travel choices. Remember, many informations out there, a sea of sameness, a very distracted audience, and most importantly, a digital scenario that is impacting the way informations are perceived. So we want those informations to be relatable and to leave something that our audience can connect with. So apart from the elements that I just mentioned to you, simple, unexpected, concrete, and credible, let's not forget to structure a message that is deeply and truly emotional. When we connect at an emotional level with our audience, we make them understand that we are there because we understand them, not because it's them that have to understand us. And in that element, last but not least, I would always recommend to include a strong element of storytelling, if not a universal element of storytelling. People connect to stories, not to numbers. Well, Structuring a brand message that resonates with our audience starts with listening to what our audience is telling us. But also, it includes, and here we are into the third part of our methodology, in positioning that message online. When we look at the way the digital transformations have changed the way we navigate the likes of different platforms, the way we express ourselves, the way we seek information, the way we grow professionally, personally, the way we expand our knowledge. Digital transformation calls for an imperative digital positioning of your brand message. A brand message that must be visible and must carry your brand features and originality across different platforms. So let's look into, how does your website look like today? When was the last time you updated it? Are you present on blogs? Do you run your own blogs, for example? Do you share and contribute to travel forums so that you become the go-to person when it comes to seeking information about your destination? Not only that, but let's see how we are communicating with our clients, with perhaps our existing clients over time, through emails. When was the last time you updated your email database? Let's look into these elements one by one, and let's work together into improving each and every one of these steps so that when you position that brand message online, it's strongly and firmly perceived by your desired audience as the message they want to receive, the way they want to communicate with you. Once we have identified how travelers of today look like, what they need, what their priorities are, and we have restructured our brand message so that it resonates with them, we have positioned that brand message online through not just a digital transformation, but a digital mindset transformation of us as an industry operator. Lastly, we look at these relationships and we look at ways we can retain that relationship over time. We have put the industry on halt for the past 18 months, and many operators have just simply stopped emailing their database. No more newsletters because there was nothing to communicate. Big mistake. There was a lot to communicate. There was a lot to take into consideration and to keep informing the travelers on the other side. The audience that was just there sitting at home, dreaming of the destination you work for or you work in. So let's look at ways we can retain that relationship based on who our existing customers are, who are our digital followers, and who is the other side. The ones that we don't know, and they know us, but maybe they don't follow us, maybe they don't take action on our content, and perhaps we don't see that booking materialized. And you notice how that echo gets bigger and bigger. And this is where we want to highlight that the effort and the communication strategy should be stronger as you reach more and more people along your digital journey. I hope you enjoyed today's keynote and that has given you an opportunity to reflect on the industry today, to support your team with new and refreshed approach to the tools you are utilizing, to support your audience with a message that resonates with them, and to support the industry to restart. I'll be here taking questions if you have any. Thank you very much.